And how's it going, guys? Josh Olufemii here, live in LA, and welcome to yet another creative week with Nick Khoo, aka Nick Ben Khoo Motion on Instagram. Today we're going to be doing a breakdown on the Coldplay video Up and Up. Creative week is a time when we step in every day with one of my friends that's more creative and more talented than myself, and conquer a lot of really cool topics.
G'day guys, welcome back. Thanks Josh for that rousing introduction, which I'm sure you've done, but I'm pre-recording this beforehand, so I have no idea what he just said. I hope it was good, let's just hope. Guys, we're just gonna go through something a little bit different today. I'm actually gonna look at a couple of music videos in these next couple of videos. We're gonna look at techniques and tricks that people have been using in all these great music videos that have just come out in the last couple of years, and we're just going to try and break some of this stuff down. Some of these tricks are pretty straightforward, some of them are not, but for the most part you can do a lot of these things with just equipment that you have, and I'm going to guide you through some of these effects. We're just going to talk through some of them generally, but for the most part we're actually going to try and break down some of these effects, and I'm actually going to share with you some of the things, some of the effects this week as well. So let's have a look at this really interesting one from Coldplay. But before we get started, I wanted to introduce to you this new product we just created called the Lyric Video Creator Kit. It has 20 customizable animated lyric templates that you can easily drag and drop into your Premiere timeline, with lots of options to customize your text, including colors, textures, and glows. Not only that, we're including 10 overlay video elements to really make your videos pop. Plus, we've added a Premiere Starter project with 5 different videos to help jumpstart your lyric videos. So what are you waiting for? Grab your Lyric Video Creator Kit today and start making those sweet, sweet lyric videos. So as you can see off the bat, we've got some really nice match moves all the way through the video. We've got this amazing bridge shot here, which they've just actually. I do wonder if. Now, some of the things I do wonder about is if this is a real shot, which I think it is. It looks pretty real to me. They've obviously taken the ocean and comped it in here. Now, I am suspicious that they just found a shot that was kind of close to this and sort of matched it with this plate. I have a feeling they may have filmed this plate afterwards, because this would obviously be harder to get, and this footage looks older. So they would have I reckon they would have shot a plate with a similar, puddle like this and tried to match the perspective, and then match move the shot using some tracking software within After Effects, which you have, and basically place it over the top. And they've done a very good job of blending the edges of the water, the real water. Actually, I don't think they even did that. My guess is that they actually rotoscoped out this whole bridge here, including the cables here, and then they put the shadow back in here, but everything else was kind of kept the same. They've done a little bit of comping here where they put a little bit of reflections in the water, but it's little things like that that kind of really sell the shot really nicely. This one here is pretty straightforward. It's just a match move where you see the people walking across the plane like this, and as you can see, they've just obviously rotoscoped out the people as they've done it, which is not impossible to do. My guess would have been this would have been mostly a blue sky. If not, I feel sorry for the compositor who had to actually try and rotoscope this out frame by frame, but hopefully there was a channel they could have just pulled from and they just pulled this out. And as you can see here, they could have tracked anything. They could have tracked maybe this point here or this point here, because it's only a pan left to right. So nothing too tricky here. It's totally something you could do yourself. Again, this is just, they've done a great job here. I have a suspicion that the cup is empty and that they've just put the water into the cup. But what's interesting here is that they've done the edge of the water here. You can see the little bubbles as they interact, and they've just made it. So maybe the liquid is real. Yeah, that's interesting here too, because they've put a little bit of a ripple in the water here to kind of make it to sell the idea of the shot a little bit more. So there's possible there is a actual blue liquid in here, and it's a lot harder to tell, but maybe they've just done a very slight fade around the edge there. But it is very well done. This one, I think they actually This is all 3D, I think, is my guess. This was all just 3D, and the people are so small it's hard to tell if they're real or not real. But I think this is a 3D model. Tracked in. Well done, but tracked in. And this is very nice. Obviously, this is just rotoscoped out. Here, they've thrown some clouds in, and to kind of sell the idea that the clouds are actually sitting on top, they've actually rotoscoped out the clouds as well and thrown them behind. So it's a very nice composite inside a composite. They've done some very nice compositing here, so it's very well done. The clouds are not opaque, but I wonder if they went as far as to actually make some of it opaque in some of the scenes, but it looks really, really good. This one too, another match move. They would have just tried to match move inside the circle here. And maybe they would have had some popcorn. Not sure if it was against a blue or green screen or something. I have a suspicion that it's white, so maybe not. Maybe they actually did spend all the time actually trying to get... Well, this could be CG as well. I wouldn't put it past them, is what I'm trying to say. It could very well be a CG element that they threw in. It's not impossible to make real popcorn. This is definitely a CG element for sure. Something you could very much do in Element, I think, if you had the 3D model. Again, a lot of very clever match moves here. One thing you should be paying attention to if you do try and do match moves like this is to which way the lighting is coming from. As you can see, it's coming. There's a very hard shadow here, so there's obviously a shadow coming from the top here to the bottom. There's a diffuse light here, so the shadows are much closer as you have the contact to the desk. But as you can see here, the shadows are a bit more diffuse as the items get away from the table. So just keep that in mind. You can see there's a hard edge there, but as the items come away from the table, it gets a lot more diffuse. And so it's just trying to keep an idea of where the light source is coming from. You can see it's very bright there on the desk, so it's obviously in that direction. So just keep that in mind when you are doing your match moves. Again, this is very much just a very straightforward match move. Straight up. That's kind of cool though. I like how they've blended this edge here into the blue water as well. That's really, 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 that's kind of creative. It's not a very difficult thing to do. I'll show you how to do that actually. All right, I've got this shot here. It's not that difficult to basically get this shot done. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to find... Now, one thing you got to notice here is that the shot does wiggle backwards, like it does rock backwards and forwards. And so this shot originally would have just been obviously the shot of the mountains, because how would they have filmed it? The mountains, my guess is the mountains were sort of ended up somewhere around here, and they've cleverly composited a aerial shot of a boat going across the water, blended it in here with the mountains very nicely. Well, it was very nicely done. Anyway, so what we're going to do is set up our track first. So right click here and go track, track motion. And because it's rocking backwards and forwards, we're going to select the rotation here as well. So it's going to give us 2 points. So we'll just set up our first point, a nice contrasty point here. I did try this a bit earlier and it did seem to work pretty well. We'll give it a bit of a wide berth to track in. And the second point here, we'll pick this nice little dark spot here as well. We'll make that pretty big and also make it, actually let's make it there. Just so we've got lots of space to track. Let's do that as well. I think I've messed that up a little bit, but that's fine. All right, so let's track forward and see how we go. So as you can see, I kind of lost the track visually, but that's okay. It's not really a big deal. As you can see here, it's a pretty smooth track. It's found the motion pretty good. So what we're gonna do here is go right click and go null object, and we're going to apply that we're going to apply the tracking data to the null object. So let's go OK, and we'll go OK, apply, and press OK. And right now we have a null object that is completely tied to the footage, which is fantastic. So what happens now is that you can do some, if you can imagine, I'm just going to draw the shape of the shoreline, but this will probably give you a good idea of what's happening here. So if I use the shape tool, let's just pick a green color, and let's just say that this is the shoreline. Just pretend like this was the footage that we were using. So I wanted to make sure this green thing is sticking to the top of this footage here. So now we've got that. It doesn't, I'll make sure this is the last frame, but can you see here, it doesn't match. But if we do pair it to the null shape, it's a magic because now it all kind of sits on top of the footage very nicely, and that is exactly what you want. So you can imagine that green thing is the footage. You can kind of see how, and if you feathered it, you know, let's even feather it just to kind of hide those edges. So Gaussian blur. Let's hide those edges just a hide those edges just a touch. And then you'll be able to see pretty easily how easy it would have been to just put in the footage there into the match move. And so, I mean, you could do this with anything really. It doesn't have to be footage, but you can kind of see if that was a piece of sky, you could see how that would have just been in there in the first place. So, I mean, look, let's just for example's sake, I'll pick a picture. So let's use this picture here of a sky that I've got. And let's try and, what we can do is very easily just attach it to the null. And as you see here, as we do pan up, the picture will actually stick to the position in the null. And if we parent that, if we use the track matte that we just created, you'll see that it pretty much will just sit inside the plane. And you can pretty much see quite easily what would happen to you can just, and what's great, you can just move that around. You can actually get that to be the sky that you want it to be. And you know, we could just cut those edges off so we don't have, we can just cut those things off just so that we've got, it's a bit easier to see the frame. But you get the idea. I mean, that's how easy it would be to do that move. It's a little bit rough. You probably could do a little bit of manual tracking, but I mean, you get the idea of how it's supposed to be done, and you could do that very easily in After Effects. Now, this stuff here is kind of clever in the sense that it's very simple and it's a very simple and elegant way to kind of do something like this. Actually, the hardest part, I dare say, would actually be trying to figure out where the lighting is coming from. So they've taken a plate and they've obviously decided which way the lighting is coming from. So it's clearly coming from the top and sort of coming, so this looks like a midday kind of shot. So it's obviously coming from the top because you can see from the clouds here. The cloud is very dark underneath and very bright on top. So it's clearly coming from the top. And they've obviously done that as well. As we said before, if things are touching the ground, the shadows are usually a lot darker, a bit bright, and a little bit more diffuse as things come further up. So as you can see here, as the stand comes further away, the shadow gets a little bit more diffuse. It only becomes a lot sharper as the light comes down further on the horizon. But at the top, you know, this looks about correct. So and again, just a match move. They probably didn't even have to do any kind of match moving with the drummer itself. It's a very slow move, so you can't really see any parallax in the kit you need to see itself because it's so far away. You know, parallax is not really a big issue. Or what I mean by parallax as in this could just be a flat card is what I'm trying to say. So this drummer would just be on a just shot on a green screen without any without any move, and the movement you do inside After Effects will take care of that and actually give you that sense that it's moving forward. But he himself is just a still card on a 3D background, which is, you know, it's done very well. Again, this is the same as the other shot with this one coming up. They've just done a very simple match move going up into the sky, but they've color corrected it. So obviously they've done, the magic here is where they've sort of blended it here. You can kind of see it a little bit, but they've blended it really nicely. And the grain kind of covers a multitude of sins as well. Now this one is a little bit more tricky. That is a much more difficult composite. This is all real footage, obviously, but the tricky part is actually getting the eagle underneath, and you have to also put a turbulence sort of distortion underneath to get it underneath the boat as well as trying to match the water on top. I dare say they may have pulled a key from this water. Not 100% sure. Well, we can have a go, but I dare say they did pull a key from this water to try and sell underneath a little bit more. But they might have done a little bit of rotoscoping, because you want to try and preserve some of these water highlights underneath is what would sell. As you can see, the eagle clearly goes underneath the reflections here, which really sell this really nicely, as well as that turbulent displace on top. Very nicely done. Again, 3D models with a very nice match move. This is very similar to the drum shot. Even better is that this shot hasn't got much parallax at all, apart from in the foreground plane. Even in the foreground plane, it's really not that noticeable. But again, the match move, pretty good. It's not a difficult thing. You do a 3D match move in this, you'll get a very easy result, I think. All right, so I'm going to take you through how to do that one shot where Chris Martin is lying on the plane, and show you how you can basically insert pretty much anything. And it's just a card slotted into that shot. It's super easy, and I'll show you how you can get that done. So we've got a shot here of Chris Martin lying on the ground on this giant field, basically. And look, it's pretty straightforward. They've obviously taken an aerial shot from an airplane, obviously, because it's an airplane. So what we're going to do is we're just going to right click on this footage and go to track and stabilize, and go to track camera, and we're going to let it solve. It should be able to solve this pretty easily, because there's a lot of grid patterns on the ground. There's a lot of texture there for it to attach onto. So I don't think it's going to have any problem trying to solve this particular shot. So what we're going to do is we're going to select 3 points, and so it's going to form this little target in the middle like this. We're going to right click on this and go create null and camera. And voila, we have a null and we have a 3D camera. Now, right now, you're going to see that nothing has happened, but that is just fine. So what we're going to do to just show you what's happened, we're going to create a piece of text. We're going to call it Olufemii. And we're just going to make it the cool font, Avant-Garde Medium Gothic, which is the one that I use for everything. I'm just going to center it using some shortcut keys, which if you've seen my other tutorials, you'll know. Now, right now, nothing happens, as you can see. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to the 3D property, and we're going to turn it on. And as you can see, it is sort of attached, but it's in the wrong plane. So we need to actually bring it and match it to where the 3D object is. As you can see here, that is pinned to the ground really well. So to inherit that, we're going to hold down Shift and this little parent link, and we're going to bring it up and link onto that. And it's actually going to inherit the properties of whatever the null is doing. Now, right now, it's just pinned to the ground, which is not what we want. We want to actually get it to sit upright. So what we're going to do is we are going to just spin this up. Oops, spin this up the other way. We'll make it 90. And we'll make sure that the null is the anchor point is sitting at below the word, so that it is actually touching the ground. And we'll just scale this up as well. I press S to get to the scale property, and we'll just move this across. All right, here we go. Not bad, right? And that's pretty much as easy as it is to do a match move in After Effects using the technique that they've basically used in the Coldplay video as well. So you can add a few more things. I would probably suggest adding a light to kind of give it a bit more depth. We can use a parallel light just to kind of give it a bit more. Oops. The only annoying thing about this new widget in After Effects is that it's cool for some things and then annoying for other things. You kind of just can't grab a singular surface on it, which I find a little bit annoying, but you know, for everything else, it's not bad. Let's see, we want to make this point down just to give it a little bit more depth. I just thought it might be more interesting than just yeah, that's not bad. There we go. And you could probably throw a contact shadow on there as well, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a zhoosh. So let's, what we'll do is we'll make this 0. As you can kind of see there, I'm going to actually put a curves adjustments on here just to really kind of sell that shadow a little bit better. Probably needs to go the other way now that I think about it, but we'll fix it up in a second. So curves is pretty old school, but I like to use them. We'll bring this all the way down so it's black. Let's rotate this the other way, just to match the same shadow on Chris Martin. 180. Yeah. We're actually going to just force it to be a little bit shorter, so it's sort of closer to the ground. And let's pull this up a bit too, just so the edge of it's there. And then we'll throw a little bit of a Gaussian blur on it just to kind of make it a little bit more diffuse, because I don't think you're not going to get shadows that sharp at that size. And there's not many situations where you would get shadows that sharp at that size. We even dropped the opacity down just a touch. It's really just subtle, and that's what you're always aiming for when you do compositing, is just those subtle things that sell the idea. You don't want it to be outrageous, you know, because you don't want to be in it. The general rule of compositing is you want it to be, you want to dial it up to 11 and then sort of start iterating it back to see where it kind of fits nicely. Yeah, and there we go. I don't think that's too bad. We can even spin this a little bit. Spin it on its axis a little bit, just to kind of give it a bit more of a bit more interest. Oh, there we go. Now, obviously, you can pair this with a few different things as well. If you've got Element, which I do, that's a kind of a fun tool to be able to throw in. And basically, if you want to, I'm going to use my shortcut keys. I'm sorry, guys. Element. If you throw in Element as well, I mean, look, you could basically just throw in some 3D objects as well, which is kind of fun. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but it is kind of fun to be able to throw in these 3D objects very easily. As you can see, and look, it will pretty much track into the shot as well because it is a 3D object. Now, it isn't pinned to the exact right point because the tracking point is somewhere around here. So you'd want to basically move it up just a touch. But let's have a look in the view just to see where we are and just to see where the planes are. So as you can see, the tracking null is there. We'd probably want to move this up just a touch. It's probably just not in the right plane, is it? So let's do this. Let's do the world transform. I think that'll be easier. So we'll move this up. It actually should be in the right place, but it is not. Yeah, weird. Weird that the floor transform isn't in the right place because it is sliding around a little bit, which I don't like. Where are we? There we are. Should be in the same plane now. Let's have a look. Yeah, that definitely looks a lot better. The lighting's probably a bit off, but you get the idea. So that is pretty much what match moving is. It's not a terribly hard trick to do, but it is. There are a few steps. I probably would go into more depth into different things to be able to get this to work. I actually have a tutorial on my other YouTube channel that shows you how to put the shadows underneath this. It's probably a bit more than we need to look at today, but there you go. That's how you do a match move. And that's, 90% of this video is really, really clever match moves. So anyway, guys, I hope that's been helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And if you want to check out everything that's happening with me on the socials, you can go to nickbenku_motion and check out all the fun stuff that I'm putting up there. You can ask me questions or you send me a message. I will answer. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.
You guys got to check out Nick's video tomorrow. He's going to be showing you a really fast way to make a lyric video. Please make sure to check out all the videos in this week's creative series down in the description below. Remember, you can get a first month of Envato Elements for only $9 in the link below. We've stopped doing the free month offer. That's been an offer that's been going on for about 6 months. It finally came to an end, but you can still get the first month for $9. Every subscription really helps the channel, so please make sure to check it out. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and as always, remember to keep it chill.